Hello everyone and welcome. This is Christine with Patter Crafts, and today's card is in association with the one stamp set, one card hop going on over on Instagram. I thought this would be really fun to participate in. This idea came from Valerie Powell, who posted in Handmade Happiness that it'd be really fun to do a hop using an entire stamp set, all the sentiments and all of the images. There were a few rules. The stamp set needed to be 4x6 or larger. You had to have at least one sentiment and one image. I think that was to get away from somebody maybe trying to use just a background stamp, although I don't think anyone in this group would have done that. I think everyone in this group is always up for a fun challenge. You were allowed to use no less than 50% of any image, but you had to use all the words, all the sentiments had to be seen. So for me, the hardest part was finding a stamp set where all the sentiments kind of went together so that it the card made sense. So I ended up finding this stamp set in my stash. It's called Santa's Elves. It's from MFT. I think it's absolutely adorable, and I do think that all of the sentiments can go together. So in order to get all the sentiments and all of the images on one card, I kind of had to think about this before I just went for it. Sometimes I clearly just go for it. I don't think too much about it, but this card I actually did put a lot of thought into. First, I'm going to just stamp the inside of my card. It's definitely going to be the easiest. Nothing is overlapping anything. It's just the image of the little elf looking in his stocking, the little holly and berry in the corner, and the sentiment, "I hope Santa spoils you rotten." Now the front of the card is the one that I had to really put some thought into, because now I need to try to squish all of these images onto the front and create a scene. I don't generally do this, but I had a lot of fun. It takes a lot of patience. But I think I'll do a little bit more. I really enjoyed making this card. So when you are creating a scene, anything that you want to be in the front, you need to stamp that first. So for my scene, I'm going to have a tree with some presents and a couple of elves, and then there's a couple little other goodies around that basic image. So in order to create that, I need to stamp my elves first, because I want my elves in front of my presents and in front of my tree. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp that out with some Copic friendly ink, because I will be Copic coloring the image or images. And I'm going to go ahead and mask those so I can stamp out my presents, and then I will stamp out my tree. So the masking tape I'm using is from Inkadinkadoo. I actually really like this masking tape. At first I wasn't really sure because I had a hard time taking the back off, but for whatever, it must have just been a freak sheet, because all these other sheets are just fine to take the back off. And I like that I can reuse it. So I just love to fussy cut. Did you hear the sarcasm in there? So I'm really glad that I can use these over and over at least a few times. So I've gone ahead now, stamped my presents. You're going to see me mask that off here, and we are going to do our tree. This is the part that requires the most masking, and I'm going to leave the masks on because I'm going to be doing some ink blending, but you will see that I forget to make a mask for that tree, so ink blending kind of got on my tree. But I'm coloring with Copic markers and the tree's green, so you don't even notice it in the end. So I'm just stamping the two ornaments here on the ground, kind of like they're decorating the tree, adding one of the stockings to the left. Then I decided I really need to figure out where I'm putting these sentiments. So how I have it placed, I didn't think they should both be on the right side, so I made my main sentiment, which is the one I want my recipient to read first, on the top, and we're going to do that in the center. And then I'm using Happiest of Holidays right there on the bottom. So it will kind of read like, "You're a friend like no one elf Happiest of holidays. I hope Santa spoils you rotten. I thought that could all go together. So this is where I did some ink blending. I used the Tumbled Glass Distress Oxide ink. Forgot to cover my tree, but like I said, it'll be fine. I'm coloring over that with some darker colors and no one will know. I did think that I had my camera on for the distress ink part, and I thought I turned it off for the coloring part, but clearly that's the other way around. So you are going to get a little bit of coloring in this particular video. So I'm just going to go ahead and color my little elves. And because I wasn't planning on putting this part in the video, I did not even think to write down what colors I am using for any of it. And I do go off the screen just a little bit, and I apologize for that, but you can kind of get an idea of what I'm doing. So because I'm going to be using some reds and greens, I'm going to do their skin tones first. That way they kind of have a minute or two to dry before I go and add more color next to that, next to their skin, because I find that if I let the lighter areas dry, I get less bleeding. And again, it can be my paper. I've discussed this before, and that's just what I find works best for me. So his little hat, I'm just kind of doing some darker red tones on the very end where the bell will be, and right along the crease and at the top of the hat. And I decided to color the stocking opposite him very similar, basically the same colors. And then when I do the elf on the right, the stocking to the left will be similar colors. I thought that would just kind of balance the card out a little bit more so that not all the same colors were on just one side of the card. So here is my tree, which you can see I distressed inked with the Tumbled Glass Distress Oxide. I'm using 3 different shades of green, and no one will even know it was there unless they watch the video. I used my darkest green to just edge around the whole outside of the tree and where the little lines are within the tree. Then I used a medium green, and then I went outside and used a darker green. And again, I did not show all of the coloring because this card took actually 2 days to make. So we're kind of on day number 2 here, and I didn't finish the coloring on camera because I didn't realize I had filmed it the first time. So now that the panels are all set, I'm going to put the card together. I am using some red glitter paper. For whatever reason, I thought this was self-adhesive, but it is not. So I'm trying to, peel it off for a minute. It didn't work. I thought the red glitter paper would just add a little bit of sparkle. It is a Christmas card, and they need more sparkle and shine. Then I'm going to add my front panel right there, glitter paper, and my inside panel right on the inside. I did not add glitter paper to the inside of my card. Then I'm going to grab some sparkly things and finish up the card, adding some Spectrum Noir glitter brush to the white parts of the hat and the stocking. I'm going to be bringing in some Stickles, which I really should learn to start off of my project, because every time I use this particular bottle of Stickles, it always spreads where I don't want it. And you'll see that when I go to do the snowbanks. Also brought in some Yellow Bird Nuvo drops for the star. And again, that helps color any of that distress ink that was there on the end. Finishing up with just some white Blizzard Nuvo drops to kind of fill in some of those snowflakes and just to add a little bit around that area of the card. So thank you so very much for joining me today. If you'd like to see what others created, you can go over onto Instagram and search the one stamp set, one card hop and see what others have done. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, hit that subscribe button. But until next time, bye.